The goal of this video is to show you how to create a test or to get feedback on video content specifically for YouTube. So I have a couple different videos here that we can use. They're all pretty good. So this one is just like a quick little demo, like what is the tool, how does it work? This one's just a silly video we made for Thanksgiving talking about turkeys. And then this one is an April Fool's Day joke that we did a year ago, which I thought was kind of funny. So I'll probably end up using this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and grab the URL for the video. And we're going to come back over here to Genti.Digital. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to name our test. We're going to call this the April Fool's Demo. And then we're going to add in our special instructions and context. So what this does is it kind of tells the AIs like what's going on, why are we watching this, like what's the context here. So we're just going to say this is, April Fool's joke published by the team at Utah SEO Ninja. The characters, because it doesn't really specifically say who is who, are, I'm going to say Triston, the male owner, Gabby and Alejandra, the VAs and design team, and then Cynthia, the AI, like that. Okay, and then we're going to come over here to video, and we're just going to drop that in here. Now, there are some important parts to this. So, for example, if you were planning to do like a, using YouTube as like your funnels, right? So what you would do is you'd click this option right here, turn into a multi-step funnel test that will let you do your video ad and then test like your landing page and then test your offer and like all that kind of stuff. If you wanted to do a test of the, let's see here. So like if you wanted to do, for example, the video itself plus the thumbnail plus the title, then you'd use your multimedia test that lets you like combine several different pieces of content. But for this case, we're just going to be doing the one. So a single content, giving it the video, giving it the URL. Next, we have the video mode analysis mode that we want to use. So the optimized mode, fast, easy, and it's the one I'd probably recommend for 99% of these things. For deep analysis, it is a lot slower, and it also costs a lot more credits because we're actually giving the entire video to each individual AI, and so it just takes up a lot more, right? So that is how that part works. Next, we're going to choose our avatars, so we can pick just a random number of avatars. We can also filter this down if we wanted to, and then if you have any saved groups or like saved avatars, which you'd create over here in the avatar tab, then you can select them from here, but we just want some 10 random AIs. Now, the next step is to give it the questions that we actually want to ask. And so we have a few options here. We can generate questions with AI. And what this will do is it will go through, scan it, and it will generate some questions for us. We can also load in a template if you want to do that, or we can enter our questions manually. So in this case, we're just going to enter our questions manually. We're going to say, summarize this video. We're going to say, who was your favorite character in this video. We could say describe the Cynthia character's appearance like that. Okay, cool. And let's say, what else could we ask it? Rate the funniness level of this video from 1 to 5, and we're going to switch this over to our rating. And then actually, since this is a multiple choice, we can do this. So we're going to say character number 1 is going to be Triston, character number 2 is going to be Gabby, character number 3 is going to be Alejandra, and then character number 4 is going to be Cynthia, because we can do multiple choice tests. We can also say rate this statement. This video made me feel more confident in Utah SEO Ninja. And then just because we need to use our Likert scale, we can do that right there. And then with never using the Likert scales or with the ratings, and I always like to add in, please provide your reasoning for your previous answer. Okay, and you can have as many questions as you want in here like that. It's all going to be just fine. But I think that's pretty good. And we'll leave everything else as is. So over here on the side, let's go back up to the top so you can see a little more clearly. You can see the stats. So we're looking at 10 avatars, 6 questions, video type. It's going to cost about 100 credits because we're using the deep mode, and everything else is ready to go. Now we're just going to click run test. And then this is going to take us over to our test page in just a second, like that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to sit here and patiently wait for the responses to come in. Now, as soon as you get your first response, you can actually go through and start watching these things. We don't have to wait for all 10 responses to come in, but we do have to wait for that first one. So we're going to give this just a second. Usually it takes about 20-30 seconds for that first response to come in. You know, I'd ask how your day's going, but you probably wouldn't be able to answer. There it goes. Okay, so we have our analytics come in so far. So not a ton of information we could see. Well, we'll let that part finish. That way we can actually see some more of it. We'll come back to that so you can finish. Now, if we go to by question, then we can actually see the response from each AI or in regards to each individual question that we asked, right? So we had 6 questions, and so we can see the answers to all of those questions right here. And then we also have the ability to see by avatar, so we can see all the responses from each individual avatar as they show up right here as well. So our first question was asking it to summarize the video. It's a team meeting skit where the owner complains about the AI Cynthia blowing the budgets on API calls. Cynthia proposes a pragmatic solution to generate revenue by selling feet pics. Team freaks out until the punchline she reveals she literally means pictures of computer case feet, hardware stands. It's a bait and switch technicality joke. Favorite character Cynthia. Describe the character's appearance. So it's a static picture of a young smiling blonde woman in a zoom grid, which of course is the case. That's Cynthia right there. So it's able to identify who Cynthia is. Rated it on a 4 out of 5. How did it make you feel about the company? It feels neutral. And then please provide your reasoning for the previous answer. Says that it didn't really learn anything, but it thought it was a little funny, so it was kind of neutral at the end. So let's see what else we've got. That was a clever. What else do we have here? So again, it's going through and it's like answering all those questions. Like in this case, it's actually like watching the video, right? So we're at 7 responses so far. Let's see what else we got here. Who else has answered? So everybody thinks it's about a 4. I only thought it was a 3, so it didn't. Emma Lewis did not enjoy the video. That's a bummer. But again, we can see it appears as a static AI generated avatar in a zoom square, young with long wavy blonde hair, and a generic polished smile. So Emma's just jealous. But yeah, so we can see all the information. Now let's go back over to our analytics. Let's actually refresh this real quick. So if we go back to the analytics page here, we can see the demographic overview, the people who actually watched the video, or the AIs that we've had running, right? So we can see their age, distribution, gender, location, occupations, the rating by question. So if you have more like multiple choice questions or anything like that, then they'll all show up right over here. So in this case, we're asking it to rate the video from 1 to 5, and you got a 3.56 on average. We can see our sentiment analysis. We can see the response completeness. So what this basically shows is, well, actually, you can just mouse over it and it'll tell you. So how complete and thorough the responses are. I can also see like how engaged the AIs were with the content. We can see our key insights like that. If we scroll down a little bit more, we can export all the data from the test. We can do some segmentation right here. We can see key themes and word analysis. So like this. Response correlations if there are any, outlier detections if any. So for example, if you're doing like ratings, then this will say, hey, look, people who rate X higher also tend to rate Y higher, or vice versa. People who like X tend to not like, Y and that kind of thing. And then also people who are avatars who are like really, really strong outliers. And usually you'll have like some sort of response explaining, hey, this is why this particular AI responded with this with this specific response as compared to everybody else. Sometimes you get some useful information out of that. And again, it lets you can go through and you could look at like the individual avatars, see their individual demographics, psychographics, and everything in order to see like why that particular piece of content really resonated with them. Or, if everybody else liked it and they didn't, then you can also kind of get that information as to why. Then down here, we have our multiple choice analysis and then the Likert scale analysis. And so, 30% of the respondents felt that this actually made them more confident in Utah SEO Ninja, which is kind of cool. And everybody liked Cynthia more. Probably a little bit of bias in there because they're all AIs too, but that's okay. So again, now I can see all this as a full bit of information here. The other thing you can do with this, if we go over here to the AI chat, we can also ask them additional questions. So we can say like, how did the personas respond to Triston? And then what this will do is it goes through all of the responses, it goes through all the information, and it says, okay, so we can extract some additional information out of all those responses by just basically giving the AI the ability to go through and read through all that. So, response to Triston, character calls the emergency meeting, shows a range of emotions and perceptives, primarily centered around concerns budget management due to excessive API costs caused by Cynthia, relatability budget concerns, mixed reactions with humor, perception of professionalism, that's good, and neutral reactions. So nothing super, crazy in either direction. And the video itself is pretty consistent with that, so that's about what I would expect. Now, the other thing you can do with this is you click right here where it says print report, then you can get your top 20 responses, or you can get all, however many responses you have. And then this will let you take all of the responses, and then you can actually take this, save it as a PDF, text document, whatever, and then you can feed this back into whatever AI you're using to actually create your marketing content, right? So if you wanted to, if you're working on a landing page and then you needed to give that feedback to the AI, then this is how you would actually be able to do that. So that's how that works. But that is Hinty, which is pretty darn cool. So again, you can always find the information right over here. If you ever wanted to rerun this test, like say you're running this and you're thinking, I should have asked this other question. If you click edit, then it actually clones that test that you just ran, and then you can come back and you can make adjustments to it and then rerun the test if you want. So that is how you do a video analysis using Genti.Digital.